Well, I wish I could give you the tea, but mine's just a little bit tart, and that's why it's called Leah's Lemonade. And I am honestly honored, honored to have my next guest at the Lemonade Stand, the one, the only, the incomparable, Laurieann Gibson. Hello.
Hi, Leah. How are you? Thank you so much for having me. Excuse me a little bit. I've been rehearsing, so I just literally came out the studio to speak to your amazing self.
Stop it. I will say, of course, we have to talk about the book, but there was one thing that I didn't see in the book that I wish I did see, which was the part where you were actually teaching me choreography because I was making the band stand. And you would be surprised, but I can still do some of the choreography from Day 26 and Danity Kane.
Wow, that is so special, so sweet of you, and I really do. I'm grateful for that because it was a great time.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing too, like, you detail in the book some of the things that happened, but some of your start, which I was getting familiar with because I'm a 90s baby. I'm 27. So when you were, starting and in the grind of your career, I was a baby. So I wouldn't have necessarily been familiar with some of the earlier work that you did until doing research, reading the book, but making the band, I was that demo. Like that was made for me. So growing up, like, I mean, literally watching that show, I wanted to make the band. So just to let you know, like your impact on millennials and your footprint, a part of that legacy and history is something to be said. But, let's get into it, the book. I mean, wow. So there's three categories in my mind of people who need this book. One, I think that children, if they're able to consume that information and read
Right.
it, need this book. I think that parents who are raising children need this book. And then I also think that people who are in the middle of their grind or understand that they have a passion but don't know how to form it or what's in the middle need this book. Because I mean, it genuinely was speaking to me. I listened to the audiobook, so I didn't read it, but I listened to it in your voice, and I think it made it more special to read it. But I mean, let's talk about it. Dance your dance, 8 steps to unleash your passion and live your dream. I mean, let,
Well, I think you're absolutely right with those three categories, and that is so insightful of you because that is exactly who I wrote the book for. First of all, the parents that do have the special kids that do have the gifts, and it's not just in the music business, but it is one of an architect, one of an athlete, one of an entrepreneur. It's important to understand, when you begin to see those special things that your child does, and it may be something that you don't do, or you don't have a talent, or you don't have the ability to direct it. So, I shared those stories, obviously, of my mom not being able to fulfill her dream,
right.
which led to her, just allowing me to be. And so I think that's great. But it's also amazing to me, like yourself, your show is awesome that, when you face that adversity, when you're a 101, when you're a prototype, it's hard to find confirmation out there when you're the one that should do something original. So I wrote the book so when you're on your way to your dream and unleashing your passion, that you don't search outside of yourself,
Mm.
but it is a roadmap to empower you based on what is inside and what makes you an individual.
Yeah, and I also think that that narrative is important of your mother who wanted to do costumes and make designs, not being able to pursue what she wanted to do, but being like, I can't let my child. I think in the Black community, just with our past and the trauma of Black people in general, a lot of Black parents were taught, you go to work, you put your head down, you don't say anything. So I think it was really, really special to read because you are a legend in your own right that, the subtle difference between us knowing a Laurieann Gibson was your mother not feeling fulfilled in her own purpose, but being free enough to understand that like I can let my child go because I didn't get to.
That's right. That's right. And I think that, just as a platform that you're building and as a amazing, beautiful, shining, bright star that I'm looking at, I'm so grateful that you had the insight to have me as a guest. That just speaks to your power, speaks to your clarity, speaks to where you're headed. So I want to just take a
I
second.
receive all that. Okay, that's on
Yeah,
me.
and just say, keep dancing your dance because it's genius, that
Mm,
you can acknowledge the path that I had to walk in order to get the revelation. And I do believe in the steps. I really do, Leah. They are not only impactful as a source of inspiration, but they are transformative.
mhm.
And they've worked for obviously every big superstar that I've built, but I'm anxious to get it into young women, young men of color, because they
Yeah,
need a narrative. We've come out of
mhm.
ridiculous times. There's still some ignorance that needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
But while that's happening, I believe that this book is a source of information that even if you're not getting it at home or you're not getting it in your school or your communities based on the unrest, then you
mhm.
can find yourself in these pages and get the confidence and the confirmation that's needed.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this book, you talk about your process to being a star maker. But what does a star maker possess? Like, what are the qualities that you have to see the star in somebody? Because you talked about at the very end of the book, I loved it when you were on the way to Clive Davis's party, you stopped and you saw a girl who you don't know if she was homeless or not, but you asked her if she wanted something, and you said, "I saw her light." And you have been able, time and time again, whether it's Lady Gaga, Nicki Minaj, Alicia Keys, to see the star in people when they don't necessarily see it in themselves. So, what qualities do you possess in order to see a star?
Well, I can't tell you because then I have to kill you. No, but that in of itself is my gift, one that I'm very grateful for, right? It is an ability to have vision, to
Right.
see what's not there, right?
Mhm.
And so as a result of being able to do that, having such a unique talent, I was able to utilize that journey to write the book.
Mm.
And really, the facts are everyone is their own star. Those
Yeah.
are the facts. There's not one person that doesn't have a place in themselves where if they can lock into their passion, that it won't unleash that dream and that they won't be the version of themselves that makes them feel like a star.
Yeah.
Not everybody is for the entertainment business,
Yeah.
but that idea of being your dream, of living it, allows you to feel that shining, empowering, confident essence that we see when we watch superstars.
Mhm.
But it is available to everybody and in your own way. It's not
Yeah.
just, like I say, the entertainment business. There's things to that that's like obviously production,
Mhm.
but we're talking about an internal shine. We're talking about a lasting, effortless shine that when you are a doctor and you understand that you have the gift to heal and what that feels like, that you feel that same feeling that an artist may feel when their record goes number one. So this is the methodology that I'm most excited about. Everyone's a star, every single one of us.
Yeah, yeah. And I also thought it was great that throughout the book you continued to keep saying that, listen, you might not be a dancer, you might not be a singer, but filling up that Starbucks cup and sending someone on their way may be that thing for you. So I saw that. One of the things I did notice, small, subtly, but there were a little references to the Wizard of Oz. Is there a reason why you did that?
I love that you got it. You're the first person that asked that. Yes, because there were things about that movie and obviously The Wiz that I was low key obsessed with as a creative. But it is getting lost along the way and finding
Mm.
and
Wow, that's deep. If you read the book, wow. Come on, Lori. Wow. Wow. I peeped the references, but I didn't think about it in that essence. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. And the ruby shoes are the dream, and they always lead you back to yourself. Dorothy realized that she had the courage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She had the faith and she
Mhm.
had the belief, to get back home. And those elements are always needed along the journey.
Yeah, it was also really refreshing to see how much you put your faith in the book. You know, obviously watching you on TV and the assortments of roles that you've played, you obviously don't always get to put all of your true essence in something. So it was really great to see that this was built on faith. I think just in an industry full of vices and full of things, you talked about that being triggered and wanting to be in this industry but not of it. And it was really refreshing to see that that you were throughout the book constantly using God and the way that your upbringing kind of surrounded this story and your purpose, honestly. So I have a question. I didn't see this in the book, but tell me if I'm wrong. When was the first time you ever said boom cat?
Actually, I didn't know I said it. It was on Making the Band when my producers, my executive producers, Perry and Ted, put the sound effect underneath me. I always choreographed with sound effects because it's the feeling.
Mm.
So obviously I'd be like, boom, cat, boom, cat.
Mm-hmm.
I would be driving the energy of a person's soul
Mm-hmm.
with accents. And it wasn't until Ted and Perry put it underneath me and I was walking down the street and someone stuck their head out the window and they said, boom, cack. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening?
Yes, yes. We would. So there's this girl named Angie. Shout out to Angie because she watches my stuff. But Angie and I literally thought we were in the band. So we would watch Making the Band. We would literally in front of our middle school. What you got from me? I want all of it, all of it. And I was convinced. I was convinced if this show continued, I was going to be on it. So literally outside in a small suburbs in Texas, you could hear boom cack all morning long
Amazing. Wow, that is amazing.
on us. So
Amazing.
I did have to ask that. Now, speaking of Making the Band, I know obviously you and Diddy are in a great space now, but in the book you talked about the editing, which I think was a great way to share what took place. And I was watching some of the old clips back just to get context. When you saw the first episode where they started to alter you or something you said, was there ever a conversation where you said, hey, y'all, hold on. Now, I don't know what's going on here, but I ain't say it like this. Or were you just like, I'm young. This is the opportunity. Let me just ride the wave.
Yes, I was young, but it was mainly the timeline. You know, it was
Mm-hmm.
what I said and how much of that. You know, I would say, you gotta fight, but they would not. They would leave out because you can. You
Right,
know, so
right.
leave out the intention. But I was so young, I did not understand a lot. I was
Mm,
primed to deliver a number one band. When Sean told me he wanted me to make a band, that's how my gift works. I'm very focused on the objective at hand.
mm,
So I was not even watching the episodes. I was busy
mm.
making the band on and off the camera. So it was an early attack, you know, an
Yeah,
early attack, both spiritually and naturally.
yeah,
But
yeah,
to God be glory for it not having the ability to impact me because that was never my intention.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
go
and I
ahead.
was gonna say too, as well. I think the underlying theme of this book as well is that things don't happen to you; they happen for you. And in the midst of you leaving that, you then meet Lady Gaga to create some of the most historic performances, concerts, tours. I mean, in history. So I think, you know, the theme, I wrote it down because I want to say the revelation. So as I write things down, I see them. Hold on, let me find it. Because I said, if you look at life from your perspective, there's no such thing as a leap of faith because everything should be working towards your goal. And so, in that same essence, you could say that about negative situations or situations that didn't turn out the way you thought they could, because ultimately, you know, you went from having what people perceived as being negative, which I also think is interesting because you are a Black woman in the way that we are portrayed in media anyway. But you know, the book to me keeps driving home force that like these things don't happen like to you, they happen for you.
Well, there's also the knowledge that my narrative and the one that I want to help inspire to change is not to look at the things as bad. I never looked at them as bad, or I would never be able to recover. But
Mm,
I was always looking at the Making the Band fight, uh, certain situations as what's next? how do I get up? Not how do I stay in the blame game, but how do I get up? And what is driving that is the passion. So I teach you to not look at it from that perspective, but to look at it as a flag, as a warning sign that there's more for you to do, that you have more capacity to carry a bigger destiny, a bigger dream.
Yeah.
And everything that may not seem comfortable is actually creating an uncomfortable sense of being so that you can move on and up.
Mm-hmm.
So once we learn to change that, like there is no negative, there is the aspect that it's all working for me, because as long as I hang on to the dream, there's nothing negative in that.
Mm. Ooh, you preaching to my soul. You got to go, busy woman. My last question for you, though, is obviously we are still grappling with the untimely death of DMX. And I saw on your Instagram you had posted. Do you have a favorite memory or something that I feel like as he's passed, we've learned so many amazing stories about him. So I'm sure you being around him have your own.
Yes, DMX was like one of those artists that, you know, suffered the slings and sorrows of everyone wanting people to conform, and he never did. And on the Bad Boy reunion tour, we had a very magical time together and one-on-one, and it just encouraged me to continue to develop true superstars and to continue to inspire people to dance their dance and, you know, their most authentic self, which is kind of a slang these days, but it really is something for us to begin a new conversation about your real self, because it is the best part of you. So, you know, I'm so excited because there's so much. I have a new pop star coming. She's phenomenal. There's just so much magic. And so with the book and with all television shows, a lot that's here, you know, I'm in step 8, living the dream, Leah. You know, I really appreciate you, but I really do want to encourage young visionaries and dreamers and really powerful people of color to switch the narrative. Get the book, because it is in understanding that as long as you hold on to the dream, that nothing can or will stop you, and that it's actually brighter than we think.
Whew, okay, listen, like I
Yeah.
said, this whole book preached to me. So I'm trying not to be emotional and extra.
No, B, go get them, Tiger. Look at you with your own show. This is epic. I can't wait to come back and talk to you about everything. So thank you for giving me the time, and I'll keep posted on the ginormous things that are coming down the pipeline.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, everybody, make sure you get the book. Child, I'm trying not to cry. So everybody grab a cup, throw it back, and sip on all of that.
Hey, y'all, it's Laurieann Gibson, and I am listening and loving Leah's Lemonade. So boom cack for your life.